Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us. I'm Laurel Porter.
And I'm Dan Haggerty. The Oregon Health Authority late this afternoon reported more than 3,000 new COVID cases over the last 3 days. That's more than 1,000 a day. It's believed the Delta variant is pushing those numbers so high.
And that variant is the reason Multnomah County took historic action today, becoming the first in the state of Oregon to issue a mask mandate for all public indoor spaces. It will begin on Friday. KGW's Pat Doris reports.
During a virtual news conference supported by the leaders of the major Portland hospital systems and the superintendent of Portland Public Schools, the leader of the most populated county in Oregon said it is time to bring back masks. By the way, Deborah Kafori is not asking, she is requiring it.
Today I'm announcing an executive order that requires everyone 5 years of age or older to wear a face covering in all indoor public spaces, regardless of whether they have been vaccinated or not.
The executive order covers all indoor public spaces, from hairdressers to gyms, restaurants, and much more.
We'll enforce this mandate like we do our tobacco regulations. The process will be complaint-driven and will involve a series of escalating steps from education on up to a $1,000 fine.
The public will be able to report other people either online or over the phone. The county will release more details on that later in the week. The county's public health officer said the mandate is necessary because the Delta variant is dangerous and is infecting children too young for the vaccine.
It is more contagious, up to 3 times more contagious, and there's some early evidence that it may cause more severe disease. And unfortunately, some of that disease is manifesting in younger people who have yet to be vaccinated.
School Superintendent Guadalupe Guerrero said everyone inside school buildings will wear masks when classes begin in the fall. Hospital leaders say you should again socially distance and be careful about gathering indoors with other people. Wash your hands often and, yes, wear a mask, all to slow the spread of the COVID virus.
OHSU stands by Multnomah County's mask mandate. OHSU believes the entire state should be masking.
A leader said Kaiser Permanente is passing new rules that will restrict visitors to help keep the COVID virus out of the hospital, and surgeries are being put off to make room for COVID patients.
The pandemic is not over. Please encourage your family members, your friends, co-workers to get vaccinated and to wear masks.
Late this afternoon, Governor Kate Brown issued a statement applauding Multnomah County's move with the mask mandates. She's calling on other leaders across the state to do the exact same thing. That is highly unlikely, though, and she knows it. And that's why some leaders are calling on her to do a statewide mandate. But she has said this is a local issue and it needs local leadership. In Northeast Portland, Pat Doris, KGW News.
Washington State is moving ahead with mandating vaccines for more than 68,000 state government employees. Workers have until October 18th to get fully vaccinated or show proof of the shot, and they could be fired if they do not comply. This will apply for most employees, but not for K-12 schools, colleges, and universities. The governor's order will also apply to private sector healthcare workers and those working in long-term care facilities. The vaccinations are mandatory for anyone, even if they haven't returned to the office.
More employers are requiring employees to get vaccinated or take special precautions, but can they isolate people who don't want to get the shot? Brandon Lewis from our National Verify team looks into this issue.
Some of the nation's largest companies have begun mandating vaccines for their employees. That prompted Verify viewer Jen to ask, just how far can companies go? So Jen, let's verify.
Does federal law allow companies to separate vaccinated employees from unvaccinated employees in a workspace?
Our sources are an employment attorney and the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. Private businesses have a lot of leeway on how they run their shop. However, federal law overseen by the EEOC says they can't discriminate for certain reasons like race, gender, or sexual orientation. Vaccine status isn't one of those reasons, although there are some limitations because of the Americans with Disabilities Act. The EEOC explains, quote, if an employee who cannot be vaccinated poses a direct threat to the workplace, the employer must consider whether a reasonable accommodation can be made, such as allowing the employee to work remotely or taking a leave of absence, unquote. Attorney Charles Johnson says that might mean having unvaccinated workers sit in a separate area.
In general, that would be legal because they cause a greater risk to the workplace and the public. Can be restricted in their movements and required, for example, to wear masks.
While some state regulations might supersede this,
It's true. Federal law allows companies to separate vaccinated and unvaccinated employees in a workspace.
with your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
On Friday, the Oregon Medical Examiner released the names and addresses of 96 people who died across the state in June's heat wave. As investigative reporter Kylie Boshi explains, most of those who died were older and lived alone in a variety of settings.
The heat wave that hit the region in late June resulted in at least 96 deaths across the state of Oregon. Most of the deaths, 60, were Portland residents. To better understand the circumstances of individual deaths, KGW mapped the addresses, then used Google Street View to determine the type of housing people lived in. More than half of those who died lived in apartments or multifamily units. Many lived in homes, both large and small. At least 8 people lived in RV or mobile home parks. A couple transients who died were living in vehicles. A preliminary analysis by Multnomah County found most of those who died were older, lived alone, and had no working air conditioning. Our early review, based on interviews and published obituaries, suggests some of those who died had pre-existing health issues and were out of contact with friends, family, or community groups. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
This is important data, though, thanks to Kyle, especially with what we have coming up in the forecast. You might have noticed a little bit warmer out there already today, and it's about to get a lot hotter later this week. Let's bring in meteorologist Joe Ranieri. Joe, we're about to hit temperatures in the hundreds again. What should we know about it?
Exactly right. Over the next couple of days, Dan, our temperatures are gradually going to warm up. We're looking at highs right now in the mid to the upper 80s. And here's the setup over the next couple of days. So it's going to be a little bit warmer for tomorrow. I'm forecasting highs anywhere from 90 to 95 throughout much of the metro area. And then we'll head into basically Wednesday, right around 100 degrees. Thursday and Friday are going to be the warmest days of the week. Also, what we're tracking is a bit of some smoke and haze. We'll be seeing a little shift in the wind direction later part of this week. So that's going to be bringing in the potential of some smoke and haze from those wildfires that continue to burn out of control, especially down in Northern California and throughout parts of Southern Oregon. As it does, that could make the air quality a little bit uncomfortable for some of us. So any respiratory issues, try to avoid spending much time outside. But then heading into the early part of next week, we'll be seeing a bit of a cool down. So for the next couple of days, just expect to see some very warm conditions. So the heat wave basically starts on Wednesday. Temperatures right around 100 degrees. There's a chance we see highs right around the upper 90s to low 100s from Wednesday all the way into Saturday of the first part of next weekend. A live look now from our Rose City camera. Temperature of 86 degrees. This is going to be probably the best day of the week out there right now. We're looking at readings right now in the mid to the upper 80s. A little bit cooler in King City and Sherwood with temperatures right around 84 degrees. East side of the state, right around the mid to the upper 80s. And I apologize, my monitor is kind of flickering in and out. Regardless, we are going to be seeing the warm conditions move through starting Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We also have some watches and warnings. Basically, the west side of the state is going to be under some watches and warnings. That's the smoke that's going to be filtering in heading into the next couple of days. Could be seeing some light smoke. Dan and Laurel arrive as soon as like tomorrow afternoon and a little bit into Wednesday, but it will be definitely thicker heading into Thursday and Friday. I'll talk more about your detailed forecast in just a few more minutes.
Boy, we sure were wishing we wouldn't see those triple digits again this summer, but we are. Thank you, Joe. And local organizations and experts say we are more prepared, though, for the hot weather this week. This comes as they prepare to protect the vulnerable people in our area from those rising temperatures. Galen Etlin shares the lessons learned after June's heat wave.
It's Heat Wave 3.0.
We've been through this already, it feels like. Taxes the people that we're serving.
Scott Kerman helps run Blanchet House in Old Town Portland, serving the homeless community. He knows after June's historic 116-degree milestone,
It is indeed something that is deadly.
his team's outreach is more important than ever, with more triple-digit heat ahead. They're offering shelter and ice water distribution on the streets. That's an extra challenge with COVID-19 and the contagious Delta variant.
It's just been one crisis after another.
Make sure we do it really carefully.
Alice Bush is Division Chief of Operations for Multnomah County Emergency Management. How can you prepare for something like this?
Unfortunately, we've had a lot, as you said, of practice responding to disasters in the last couple of years.
The county has a website called Help for When It's Hot, listing locations of cooling centers and collaborations with other organizations and cities for people to get cooling kits.
Make sure that we're bringing all of our strengths to the table.
Portland is setting up misting stations in outdoor parks. Beaverton is opening the city library for cool shelter, and 211 is available for people to call and find resources.
Question by Bev, dew point levels.
The National Weather Service office in Portland is also hosting interactive Q&As online for people to get ready for more heat.
It is something that I would say we need to get more used to.
Any lessons learned from last time that are going to help this time around?
Welfare checks.
With organizations spread so thin,
It's going to be hard for us to reach everyone.
they're asking you to check on your neighbors and offer shelter or help where you can.
Just handing a bottle of water to somebody can really make a difference.
All with the goal of preventing deaths like the 96 Oregon saw in June. Galen Etlin, KGW News.
The Washington County Sheriff's Department is on the hunt now for several people following a weekend filled with crime. They say it all happened in the span of about 45 minutes in North Plains. The suspects went through several neighborhoods, checking car doors and getting into unlocked vehicles. We're told this was highly organized and the event was planned out across multiple neighborhoods. At least 20 people were victimized and 2 cars were stolen. One of the victims has this message for anyone who thinks that this might not happen to them.
I just can remember coming into the house thinking that I had everything, locked, but just that one time you let your guard down or, it's something bad can happen.
Frustrating, big time. Remember, if you can, right, lock the doors every night, at night. And if you know anything about any of these crimes, please, you're asked to contact the Washington County Sheriff's Office.